very influential unit of the Zionist Freemasonic movement in this country, and certainly with links to powerful interests around the world. It is not the Jesuits who control ABC, CBS, NBC, or U.S. News and World Report, or Time, or Newsweek. The Zionists and people under the thumb of the Zionists are in control of these major news networks and magazines. And as American Free Press always says, the media is the enemy. You don't find the Jesuit order running those networks. You don't find the Jesuit order running the Anti-Defamation League. You find very powerful Zionist Jewish families running those elements that dictate public policy in America, that dictate who gets elected, that send Catholic politicians like Jim Trafficant to jail, for example, by trumping up false charges against him that are broadcast throughout the media. No, the Jesuits are of no substantial influence in this country. Not at all. The Zionists, however, are.
Okay, and we're going to go into this break, and I don't want to cut anybody off. And we have, let me just, for my callers, just because you guys are, there's a whole bunch of callers lining up, and I don't want to forget you. So hold on, be patient. I have some more questions. I know Eric and Mike have questions of each other, and we will get to those calls, though. Great debate. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal. Okay, back for the final hour, and this is kind of short. I wish I had a few more hours. This is going too fast, and there are just so many things to get at. We're going to do the best we can, and I want to thank both my guests for coming on. And let me just tell you who they are again. It's Michael Collins Piper. You know him as a talk show host on RBM from 6 to 7 every day, and he's written 2 books called The New Jerusalem, Zionist Power in America, and then Final Judgment, The Missing Link in the JFK Assassination Conspiracy. And Eric John Phelps, my other guest, has written 3 books called The Vatican Assassins. He's finishing the 3rd edition. And both of them trying to get at the truth behind what's happening in America. Both are pointing to a different enemy. They may be interlocked somewhere along the line, but we need to find out. A question I have, and I think I want to ask this, a real vital question. Right now we're engaged in a war. According to the Bush administration on terror, many soldiers are dying as we speak. Many other innocents are dying in Iraq and all over the Middle East. How do the Zionists, Michael, and I assume we're finished with the last topic. If not, you guys can add in after I ask this question. But anyway, how are the Zionists intermingling with the Muslims? If the enemy is not the Muslims, how then have they? How have they infiltrated the Muslim peoples?
Well, I think actually, this brings up a point. I've written another book which a lot of the listeners have read and are familiar with, The High Priests of War, and that's an account of the rise of these neoconservative pro-Israel war hawks who directed the Bush administration into this war against Iraq, and now they're aiming for Iran, and they have already made it clear in their writings and pronouncements that it's a war against the entire Muslim world. And I think it's important to point out that the Vatican, now Mr. Phelps says the Vatican is under the control of the Jesuits. The Vatican opposed the war against Iraq. So if the Vatican, under the control of the Jesuits, is in fact really in favor of a war against the Muslim world, then they would have wholeheartedly supported the Iraq war, which they did not. In fact, respond? Well, let me just make one more point. The Civiltica Cattolica, which is a Vatican-approved newspaper, even went so far as to suggest that a lot of the newspaper overemphasis on some of these sex scandals in the Vatican and in the Catholic Church, which are rightly being reported, I might add, they said that the overemphasis of that was because of the mass media being disturbed about the fact that the Vatican did not support the war against Iraq. And as I said, if you look at who controls the mass media in America and certainly in a lot of places in Europe, you will find that it is not the Jesuits, it is the pro-Zionists and the Zionists.
Eric, I'm going to ask you the same question. Go ahead.
Okay. In response to Mr. Piper's statement that the Vatican is openly against the Iraq war, this is par for the course. The Vatican always has an open policy, and that is not their true policy. Their true policy is their secret policy. For example, the Jesuits controlled Bavaria. They control all of Munich for centuries. In fact, Bavaria was called the Jesuit stronghold north of the Alps. It's out of Bavaria that we have the first 30 Years' War, from 1618 to 1648. It's the very same Jesuit-controlled Bavaria out of which comes the Nazi Party. But what is the open policies of a man by the name of Jesuit Meyer? Why, they're openly against the rise of Hitler. But secretly, they backed him, they manned his SS, they were involved in making Croatia that horrible Ustashi state that killed nearly 1 million Jews and Orthodox Serbs. So they always have an open policy, but that's not their true policy. They have a secret policy, and their secret policy is they're completely and totally behind this war against the Muslim world. James Angleton called for a war against Islam back in the 70s. Francis Xavier said, give me a world without Muslims and a world without Jews, pursuant to Boyd Barrett's great work that I have. No, that's their secret policy, and as evidence of that, because I maintain that the Archbishop of New York is controlled by the Jesuits of Fordham University, and the Archbishop controls the Knights of Malta, the American tongue in this country. It was George J. Tenet, one of the few holdovers of the Clinton administration, who is a member of the Knights of Malta. He was educated by Jesuits at their Georgetown Jesuits, their School of Foreign Service. He's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and he's one of the linchpins responsible for 9/11 and thus this papal crusade against the Muslim world.
Okay, and Mike, let me get back to this question and see if I get it right here from Michael's point of view and your point of view, Eric. Michael, basically then, we have the situation where our government has been usurped by what you say the Zionist power, in that they have put controls on the CIA and the Mossad, and basically have they, in your estimation, taken over the leaders of the Muslim world to create this war? How does that interact? How have they done this to really create this enemy called Al-Qaeda from your point of view? And then I want to ask Eric the same question on whether he believes the Jesuits are behind this infiltration. Go ahead.
Okay,
Michael.
well, that's a pretty tall order, especially in regard to...
Well, we got a lot on the line here. We got people dying.
Yeah, I guess. Actually, I'll tell you something. I would like to make a suggestion. I am so confident in my position that I would be willing to have all people who are calling in support of my position hang up the phone right now, and I will only talk to people who stand with Eric and against my position because I feel so strongly about it. So,
you're not going to believe this. Most of the callers are for both of you, so that's interesting.
Well, that's in any case.
But anyway, I'll take that.
Yeah, okay. In any case, what I was about to say was that now Eric says that the Vatican has. He wants us to believe that the Vatican says one thing publicly when it really means one thing privately. Well, I guess, does he believe that also applies to, say, the issue of abortion?
That's correct.
Okay, so the Vatican is actually pro-abortion.
Secretly, the Jesuits are behind abortion. Absolutely. They perfected it in the convents with the nuns.
Okay, I just wanted to get that clarified for the public record here. I don't believe that, but then again, earlier, Eric, you cited the Bible, and you suggested that the Bible the city of the seven hills refers to Rome. I have heard Christian pastors such as Reverend Ted Pike, who's a very popular figure in RBN. I believe Reverend Pike in one of his videos suggests that actually that city referred to is actually Jerusalem. So I guess what I'm saying here is that we can't have a serious debate if we are going to base it on one man's interpretation of the Bible, because there are so many different interpretations of the Bible that we could go on and on and on and discussing that. Now,
okay, but what I'm saying is that's my position so that the listener understands the foundation from